in the different continents, in the different conditions, in the different health and wellness pedagogies, andragogies, and the confluence of global happiness and wellness. Ladies and gentlemen, we all understand at this point of time, the world has passed through, world is passing through, and we only hope and pray that everything should get into normal as soon as possible. Green morning, green afternoon, and green evening to everybody, wherever you are. People, those are joining us from the different continents. I'm grateful to all the people, my brothers and sisters, Indian diaspora, non-resident Indians, fellow Indian citizens, native places, native people from the different countries, different continents. We extend a very hearty welcome to people from Canada, United States, Latin America, European Union, Central Asia, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, people joining from South Asia, Afghanistan, Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Maldives, 10 beautiful countries with 650 million population in ASEAN, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, Brunei, all the places we extend you a very warm welcome. Let me also go to Middle East. I'm grateful to Anand Prakash ji and his entire team to joining us from Doha, Qatar. People joining us from Oman, Kuwait, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, all the places. Those are joining us. We extend you a very warm welcome. Our brothers and sisters, those are watching this particular program from Mauritius, Port Louis, we extend you a very hearty welcome. People, those are joining us from Seychelles, a great, great hearty welcome to all of you, I can understand. And then going to Dr. Mishra and all my brothers and sisters, Kenya, Uganda, Senegal, Mozambique, South Africa, wherever you are, Ethiopia, I extend a very warm welcome to each one of you. It's a wonderful, wonderful, going to be a deliberation. And of course, today is a celebration also. It is a Dussehra festival in India. And as we are in the different time zones, somewhere it's evening, somewhere it's morning, somewhere it's afternoon. So wherever you are, first thing is please take care of yourself, take care of your health, take care of your wellness. During this pandemic, there are two things which are very important. One is your health and wellness. And second is all the children at present, they are with their parents at home. When we contacted and we are in touch with the UNESCO, 1.86 billion children, they are at present away from schools, colleges, universities, institutions, polytechnics, ITIs. Today is the 262. That means 261 webinars we have already conducted on education, because the theme and the central part what we have taken during this pandemic is how to keep education relevant, how to make education relevant. आइए शिक्षा को प्रासंगिक बनाएं, the global confluence of intellectuals. Ladies and gentlemen, 5 words which sound all the times. पूरा संसार 5 तत्वों से बना है, 5 उंगलियां हैं, भूमंडल में 5 चीजें हैं और 5 चीजों से ही सब कुछ है और यहाँ पर भी 5 हैं. Education, research, skills, entrepreneurship and startups. And it's a sheer coincidence when I talk about this evening, we are also 5 of us. Those are going to be together on this common platform when it is non-resident Indians and Indian diaspora international webinar. I extend a very warm welcome and my warm greetings and early morning in the United States, Professor Gurumurthy Kalyanaram ji. He is MIT alumni from the United States. He's at present in New York, early morning. We have got Dr. Vivek S. Natarajan, Lamy University, Houston, that is again in the United States. Professor Anu Vij, the Dean, Aldar University, Dubai, that is in United Arab Emirates. And of course, the kingpin to get all of them together on a common platform, Professor Tejendra Sharma, the founder president, Haryana Commerce and Management Association, which is in India. Haryana is a beautiful state, ladies and gentlemen. This morning at 9 a.m., when the Universal Studios gates opened, and you saw the Woodbury University in the United States, Burbank, California, Professor Satinder Dhiman appearing over there and talking to us on Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and that is Kurukshetra, and that is Haryana. So Professor Tejendra Sharma ji is from Haryana at present with us. So ladies and gentlemen, while extending a hearty welcome to all of you this evening with the valuable inputs of our brothers and sisters, we are going to talk about National Education Policy, New Education Policy 2020, building global excellence in Indian education. So hearty welcome to each one of you. And while extending this particular warm welcome, let me just flip through some slides because people are joining us from Spain, they're joining us from France, they're joining us from Peru, they're joining us from Costa Rica, Venezuela. So I'll show you a few slides so that all of us, we are together. Now, International Chamber for Service Industry, since 1994, we are in the service where we are getting the confluence of non-resident Indians' expertise together. And our basic efforts are how can our non-resident Indian and Indian diaspora help us technically, innovatively, networking-wise, professionally, FDI, FII, whatever you want to talk about, you can think about. So they have got various ingredients and inputs for entire Indian economy, Indian values, and projecting India's image abroad in the most beautiful way. During coronavirus, this pandemic, there are two verticals which are very important. One is doctors, nurses, and paramedical people. They are great warriors because of health and wellness. Second is our educators, our vice chancellors, our principals, our directors, our teachers, our counselors, our technocrats, all of them together. How to keep education relevant and how to make education relevant. We understand there is a digital divide. We understand somebody is in cities, somebody is in rural, somebody is in semi-urban, somebody is in urban, wherever you are. There are a lot of challenges, but our teachers are great warriors. They're trying their level best to reach out every child. During lockdown, thought processes are affected, business is deeply affected, physical and mental health is affected, and main part of the universe, education is also deeply affected. From India, we always believed in Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. The entire world is one family. Nobody should be suffering. We all should share our sorrows, happiness, challenges together. Heartiest congratulations to Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, and to the Education Minister of India, Dr. Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank ji, and his entire team, all the stakeholders. They have done a wonderful job. Ladies and gentlemen, on 29th of July 2020, the new education policy has been rolled in by the present government. The previous policy was in 1986, and before that in India, it was in 1968. So if I go to 1968, we can say 1947, India got independent. It was too early. 1962, war was there. So 68, not much of changes could be done. And if I flip the last two words, prefix and suffix, 68, I just make 86. So that was the next policy. So 1986 onward, there were some changes which were brought. But somewhere the Indian education system was becoming obsolete, obsolescent, and out of gear, not getting the right packaging, theoretical, not keeping pace with the time. There were a couple of challenges. And now this new education policy, which has been announced on 29th of July, right from the 6th class onward, children learning coding, vocational, internship, going to corporate, and at the same time, no arts, no science, no commerce, all of them together. That means you can be a science student, but you can take a subject like music, and you can be a commerce student, and you can take a subject like fashion designing. At the same time, All the IITs, IIMs, universities, colleges, institutions, everybody will have arts, commerce, science. And what we were telling earlier, if you're in sports, it is your extracurricular. There is nothing like extracurricular now. Everything is the integral part of education ecosystem. That means if you're doing sports, it's countable. If you're doing music, it's countable. If you're doing painting, it's countable. If you're learning dance, if you're learning textile designing, it's countable. Everything is being taken. And then in higher education, wonderful. You can step out after 1 year if you're done 12th and thereafter you're going to college. After 1 year, you want to drop out, then you can get your diploma. You can get your certificate. If you're coming out after 2 years, you get your diploma. If you're coming out after 3 years, get your degree. If you want to become a teacher, then you do your 4 years program. Okay. You want to go for PhD? No MPhil, nothing. Do 4 years, last 4 years, totally towards research, and thereafter you get into a subject with 100% accountability. That is your PhD. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a game changer as far as artificial intelligence, virtual reality, technology, Internet of Things, blockchain, whatsoever you can think of, all that is getting incorporated. And most important is, we lost somewhere in between Indian values. If you go to Germany, if you go to Finland, if you go to Scandinavian countries, if you go to South Korea, any country example you want to set in, your native language, your local language, your national language, your mother tongue, it plays a very important role for all of us. And when I spent time in Finland, when I went to Korea, when I went to Germany, I was quite surprised. I went to Austria and I was sitting in Salzburg, Innsbruck, Vienna, wherever I have gone. I'm sure the native language is to be respected, mother tongue is to be respected. So that will come over here. Where exactly Macaulay destroyed the Indian education system, that part to be considered. What was Nalanda? What was Takshila? What was Vikramshila? How it was possible 10,000 students and 2,000 acharya, and you name a subject and it was there. What to talk of? I mean to say, when I look back during this corona, so much of time I got to go through more and more, more and more, more and more. Now, almost about 150 countries inputs which we have got during this pandemic. Our chamber from the research scholars world over have taken the inputs. And what we have learned is next global crises are going to be on water shortage. You will not have even drinking water. Some of the cities will not have even a drop of water. Water conservation is so important. So our chamber has taken a strategy that every evening, Indian Standard Time, 5 p.m., you have not to log in anywhere. You have not to go on anybody. Just come on the YouTube channel and you are there to see the program every evening. And we get 6 young girls every day under women empowerment, and they talk about what is the purpose of education, how to make education relevant, how technology is playing an important role, what is to be done on water conservation, and how to follow your passion. These are the kind of modules we are taking every evening at 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Women empowerment is very, very important, and that's why our chamber is totally focusing on women empowerment, and we have taken UNESCO's 2 agendas. One is Sustainable Development Goal number 4 for education, and 5 is for the gender equality, where we are basically talking about women empowerment. Every day, our chamber is giving 12-hour service Monday to Sunday, no Saturday, Sunday. We are more busy on Saturday, Sunday. This is the 5th webinar today since morning, and that is the way we take on. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to share with all of you, anything and everything is possible when we all take a pledge that we have got a common goal to be achieved to make a world a better place and to empower the entire education ecosystem. This is the finishing school which our chamber set up, and that is toward the soft skill. Can you imagine that people started talking about skills and competencies and soft skills later? And from 1994 onward, etiquettes, manners, gesture, body language, articulation, critical thinking, analytical thinking, logical thinking, and overall, what is the purpose of education? Our chamber focus the total energy in this direction. This is the kind of a setup which we did with the non-resident Indians. Compliments to present government of India. They have got 38 sector skill councils. What they have done is, there is a separate ministry with the Ministry of Education that is called Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. 38 sector skill councils, each sector skill council taking a specific agenda and developing, chiseling, harnessing, equipping, whatever term you want to use, the younger generation. And you will be so happy to know, every month we take on a new series, and from Monday, that is tomorrow, we are going with the Media Entertainment Skill Council of the Ministry of Skill Development and Government of India Entrepreneurship. Radio, television, theater, music, films, animation, sound, light, backdrop, music, special effect, casting, anchoring, whatever you can think of, entire Media Entertainment Skill Council, 1 month, our chamber is dedicating with Media Entertainment Skill Council. Do join us. Be a part of the deliberation, give your valuable suggestions and empower the youth. Every Saturday evening, we take you to Chicago. 11th of September, 1893. What must have happened on the soil of United States? This gentleman with this saffron turban and this kind of a costume, when he landed up over there and he stood and he opened, and just when he opened the vocal cord, sisters and brothers of America, and that is the time he started. And what a thunder of applaud 127 years back. So every Saturday evening, we have got a special program for youngsters, that what did Swami Vivekananda gave to us in education and for the youth empowerment. Arise, awake and stop not till the goal is reached. And thereafter, Ministry of Ayush, Government of India, separate ministry being created. Yoga, meditation, naturopathy, nutrition, positive thinking, no anxiety, no stress, no depression, always talking positive, thinking positive, walking positive, dreaming positive, positivity all the time. Yesterday evening, we had a wonderful session with one of the Ayurvedists. Every Saturday evening, if you want to remain young, if you want to remain happy, if you want to remain healthy, you've got to enjoy this session every Saturday at 6:30. Ladies and gentlemen, at the age of 72, my energy is that of 20-year-old young boy. That's only because of yoga, meditation, eating style, living style, and life skills. That is the way you got to think of it. You can, and pray only one thing to Almighty, that you should be working till end, till the last day. When I remember Abdul Kalam Sahab, the former president of India, we got to really recollect. He went to Almighty while giving a talk on the podium in IIM Shillong, that is in Meghalaya. What a fortunate soul. Sunday morning, we take you to, as I told you, open the gates of Hollywood Universal Studio and come right in front, Woodbury University in Burbank, California, and Professor Satinder Dhiman talks to us every Sunday morning. Can you imagine how many people from world over are joining this program? It's mind-blowing. And he talks about what is Srimad Bhagavad Gita and what is Upanishad and what is the relevance of this in today's education system world over. Whether you are teaching management, you're teaching engineering, you're teaching marketing, you're teaching any subject. Now, thereafter at 3 p.m., we take you to ASEAN, India and ASEAN, and with the special focus on northeast part of India. The Honorable Prime Minister of India calls it Ashta Lakshmi. There are 8 beautiful states of northeast part of India, and that is collaborating, combining where education, skills, tourism, research, innovation, wellness, and MSME, focusing the northeast part of India. And the last program, just before this program, half an hour before, I've done the 261st webinar, and that was micro, small, and the medium enterprise. Ladies and gentlemen, during this pandemic, one thing is very important. Those of us who have not seen on the YouTube, I would request each one of you. There's a gentleman in the United States, and he has given a video. It's called Nightmare to Universities. Please do watch that video. It's worth watching. You will understand what is happening in education and what is happening in the corporate sector. Google, IBM, Microsoft, Netflix, Bank of America, and McDonald's. And for that matter, there are a couple of other industries, corporate houses. They are telling no degrees required, nobody to go to university. We would let you know what exactly is to be done and how the skills are going to play important role, because there is a lot happening. Thereby, the speed which corporate sector is asking for, the skills which corporate sector is asking for, educational institution got to either keep the pace with them. Watch that video. You will come to know Nightmare to Universities. It's a wonderful video. About 7 months back has been rolled. Now, making education relevant, when we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, this is the complete canvas, the whole week which we are covering with all of you. Our chamber, right from 25th of March till today, the study what we have carried out and the synthesis what we have carried out, the new order of the world and the new golden triangle, what is going to be B2B will be no more termed as business to business. It will be termed as back to basics of life. That is the future. And there are three important things: basic food, basic health, and basic education. These three things have to be given the priority for sustainable development for some time to come. Whatsoever human mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Let's come together. Let's make education relevant. It's a global confluence. We extend a warm invitation to all of you. Anyone out of us world over, wherever you are, we are grateful to Professor Tejinder Sharma ji, the founder president of the Haryana Commerce and Management Association. He is presently working as a chairman and professor in the Department of Commerce at Kurukshetra University in India. He has over 23 years of corporate, academic, and research experience, and his research interests are particularly in the field of marketing. He completed his doctoral research on value delivery system, very interesting subject, a study of selected universities from Kurukshetra University, and has over 50 publications in reputed journals of international and national repute. He has completed one UGC sponsored major research project on potential and consumer behavior of subsistence marketplaces, a study in Haryana. He is the managing editor of the Journal of Business Wisdom and is in the editorial and referee boards of several international and national boards and journals. He has organized 7 international and national conferences in India and abroad. He has been invited thrice by the University of Illinois at Urbana, that is champion as domain expert on subsistence marketplace, and has been academic coordinator for several delegations of overseas students. Ladies and gentlemen, he is a conference chair of prestigious first immersion conference being organized by Subsistence Marketplace Initiative of University of Illinois at Urbana Champion, and has been track chair of the annual conference of Association of Collegiate Marketing Educators of USA. He has been member of University Court, Academic Council, Chancellor Nominee, Selection Committee, DRS Committee, Board of Schools, Board of Studies of several reputed universities. Prolific speaker, he has been invited in several reputed conferences, seminars, workshops, and he has conducted various lectures in several colleges and universities in the country and abroad. He has also been Director Youth and Cultural Affairs of University. Presently, he is also the president of Haryana Commerce and Management Association. His leadership qualities give inspiration to the youth, and he is looked upon as a respectable teacher, accomplished academician, able administrator, and a good human being. I would request all my brothers and sisters, those are from Kurukshetra University, and those are from the Commerce Department or the Management Department or Marketing Department. The great respect you can give to any teacher anytime in life is log on to the YouTube channel, come over there, post your comments over there, say that you are there to support the event. That shows that you are respectful to your teacher. Honorable Professor Dr. Gurumurthy Kalyanaram ji, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, USA. Doctor, when his friend was talking, he was calling him Dr. Professor GK because that was the short form. So Kalyanaram ji, he is a professional experience, includes international work in the academic, non-governmental and corporate sector, providing him insight into qualifications and qualities taught by educational institutions in broad array of disciplines. With international experience as a university administrator and professor, Professor Gurumurthy ji, he has first-hand knowledge of the admission processes and standards of undergraduate and graduate programs in university around the world. Professor Gurumurthy ji work is in management sciences, education and public policy, economics and innovation is highly cited. He serves as a management and a policy consultant to many US-based organizations, and he was a distinguished scholar at the Woodrow Wilson Center of International Scholars and the East European and Russian Research Center. Professor Gurumurthy ji has served as an academic and research advisor to many US and global universities, including MIT and Stony Brooks International University of Japan, Yangtze University, China, and many other universities in India. A very hearty welcome to Professor Dr. Gurumurthy ji. Dr. Anu Vij, she is the Dean, School of Business Administration, Aldar University College, Dubai, United Arab Emirates. We extend a very hearty welcome to the lady for joining us this evening. Dr. Anu Vij, with a Ph.D. in Commerce from Kurukshetra University India, is currently serving as Associate Professor and Dean of School of Business Administration in Aldar University College, Dubai. She has a cumulative experience of over 20 years in industry and academics. She has been actively involved in devising innovative practices to integrate technology, industry practices, and education for effective student engagements and enhanced transfer of learning. She has been an integral part of the administration in the university for the last several years and stresses on high quality research output to achieve excellence and sustainability in education. She is part of the several research groups within and outside of the university with a focus on digital promotion, consumer behavior to quality, ethical marketing practices, and COVID-19 preparedness. Dr. Anuji, she has expertise in working for national quality frameworks in business education for higher education institution in UAE. Currently as a business dean, she is leading a team of skilled faculty in diverse business areas to assist for national and international accreditation in business education. A very hearty welcome to Dr. Anu Vij. Ladies and gentlemen, we have also been joined by Dr. Vivek Natarajanji, the Professor, Management and Marketing, College of Business, Lamar University. A very hearty welcome to him. Dr. Natarajan is a professor at Lamar University, September 2012 onwards, presently Beaumont, Texas, USA, teaching courses in marketing and business, published scholarly articles, service to department, college, university, and discipline. Expertise in subjects like global enrichment, healthcare economics, healthcare, entrepreneurship, marketing management, special topics in management, supply chain management. He has an extensive experience in research and delivered his services as board of directors, faculty advisor, chairperson of conferences, committee, task force, editor in research journal in the university, apart from being an academician in the university. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming and extending a very hearty welcome to all our distinguished guests this evening. And I will hand over the responsibility to now my fellow friend and a scholarly Professor Tejinder ji, who is the president of the Haryana Commerce and Management Association, to conduct and moderate and to take the session forward. I wish to sit quietly and learn, and I want to be a very humble student now. And I would just like to take down the notes and learn from all of you. With these words, I hand over to Professor Tejinder Ji. You got to unmute your mic, sir. You got to unmute your mic, Professor sir.
A very good evening to Dr. Gulshan Ji. Good morning, Professor Gurumurthy sir, and good afternoon, Anu madam. Good morning to Vivek, and again, hello to everyone, one and all who has joined in this webinar, in which we have such a wonderful galaxy of speakers today, that we are here to discuss how Indian diaspora can really give us thoughts, insights, inspiration, and inputs so that we can build the institutions which can make education relevant for us. We and you teach in the colleges and universities, and now it's a time when we really need to think about implementing the national education policy, which has been recently put forth. Now, without taking much of a time, since we have got distinguished speakers amongst us, I'll take the opportunity to request Professor Gurumurthy Kalyanaram ji to kindly come and share his thoughts with us. We call him GK with love. He's a real source of inspiration. Sir, I am really personally so overwhelmed to see you today on this virtual platform after so long. When you last came to Kurukshetra, I'm really so overwhelmed and so happy to see you hale, hearty, smiling, and wonderful as always, sir. Sir, indeed, it's a great pleasure for us to welcome you to this platform, and we are very eager to get your views, because I know that your words matter. Your words really have got an input, have got a potential to give us inputs so that we can really transform ourselves. Being at the helm of the affairs, we all really can do it. And with your inspiration, sir, I'm sure we will be able to build a Vishwa Guru Bharat, sir. Sir, all yours, sir.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. First of all, I want to thank and congratulate Dr. Sharma, Tejinder for organizing this, and most importantly, inviting me and thinking of me. And I want to, of course, congratulate and wish my very best to my fellow panelists. I know Vivek for a long time. I don't know Anu, but now I know her. I know of her and I know her. Thank you. I want to begin with greetings to all of you, and happy Dashera, and may we all be blessed with good fortune. If you're Hindu faith, you may be celebrating Dashera. If you're a different faith, may this season bring you much love and joy and peace. I begin with an apology, and apology is that I'll make a short presentation. I'll take a few questions. I have to leave the presentation because as a practicing Hindu, I have to do a puja at 11 a.m. New York time with the priest on Zoom. So please accept my apologies in advance. So this is an important topic about making higher education relevant and rigorous and globally excellent and competitive. So let's just lay out some simple, harsh facts which make it very challenging for us to be globally competitive. When I say us, I mean Indian universities, Indian higher education. And this is not any particular government's or any particular individual's outcome. This is a cumulative outcome of who we are, where we are. So let's look at this. One is resources. I mean, our benchmark should be United States. And I say this not because any other reason. Sometimes, policymakers, and forget policymakers, we citizens of India like to compare with Singapore, compare with some of the Middle East countries, sometimes even with the UK. Fine. But don't get me wrong, they're all small countries. Singapore is 5 million folks. That's not even Bombay. And policy making for Singapore is easy. Sometimes we compare, and a lot of Middle East. Sometimes we compare ourselves with China. Fair enough, but China is not a democratic polity, and we are. And can India come up with 10 great universities? You bet. Government of India can allocate unlimited resources to 10 different universities. But Government of India cannot do it. Government of Tamil Nadu cannot do it. Government of Bengal cannot do it because we are a democracy. And that is, in a democracy, not only we need high quality education, but we need democratization of high quality education and research. There is this tension between democratization of education, quality education, and building quality. Building quality takes a lot of resources, so does democratization and accessibility. Now look at IITs. We began with 5, now we have more than a dozen. Look at IIMs. A lot of people criticize, but no, we need the democratization. But then with the democratization comes lack of resources, lack of faculty. So we are in this constant tension, and it's inevitable in who we are, how we are growing. So we have to recognize this tension, right? We have to recognize this tension. So what do? Now, really excellent education consists of 2 components: great students and great teachers. And I say we have great students, but not so great teachers in India. And I say this, let me explain this. Our students are best in the world. We know that. IITs, getting into IITs is like going to heaven. I never got into one of them. All those civil service UPS folks, it's like going to heaven. I couldn't get into IAS or IFS, and I could become one of the class on service, police and others. I didn't take it up. But so competitive, so bright our folks are. There ain't any dearth of good students, however we measure them, whatever standardized tests we use, whatever we do. Narayana Murthy famously once said his son went to school at Cornell. I don't think his son got into IITs. It's easier to get into Ivy Leagues than to IITs. So we have great students. Let's set that aside. We have lots of constraints: information, accessibility. I have a friend called Kurukshetra. He retired as a principal secretary to Tamil Nadu. He's retired, now he's over 60. And I'll tell you his story. He comes from deep south Kanyakumari, and his parents died when he was in his 10th grade, some public school. And his uncle, who was a small clerical bureaucrat in Tamil Nadu, in Madurai, said, "Why don't you take the IIT entrance exam?" And the fellow said, "I don't know what IITs are." And he didn't have money to pay the IIT entrance fee, which was done, 20 rupees, 50 rupees, some small. We're talking about early 70s. His uncle paid the entrance fee. He took the exam raw, no coaching, no nothing. He was in the top, 20 or 30. He went to IIT Madras for electronics, which was then considered very popular, very in great demand. So my point is, people like Kurukshetra don't have information. There are, millions of Indians who don't have information accessibility. We have that. But beyond that, we have plenty of good students. However we measure them, whatever metric we use. Now, we don't have, say, great professors, I say that. And the reason is, really, we talk about Nalanda, we talk about really what makes a teacher a better teacher. He or she constantly reflects and thinks. Now, how do we know someone is reflecting and thinking? We need some output. And that's what we call as research. Right? Research. And, I've been in some Indian universities. I know, well, research in India is very muted. You don't have to do rocket science. You go to Google Scholar, put any professor's name and see citations. You compare it with great universities, any professor. Now, are the professors to be blamed? No, because the same folks, if they go to United States or Europe, they do well. Lots of them publish. So it's not really something that individuals are holding back. It's a lot of things. It's a resource constraint, right? I told chancellor of a university, why don't you let teachers and professors teach only 2 courses a semester, which would be 4 courses a year? He just dropped dead. Professors teach 5, 6 courses, sometimes overload. Where do you have time and the energy? From management's perspective, they give so-called course release. What the professors do? If they're in Bombay, they have other universities. They go and teach in some other university for 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 rupees. So they really, essentially, they squander away or fill the time, right? So he says, what gain is it for me? So it's a chicken and egg problem, right? So professors don't have the time and the leisure. I mean, everyone has a family. Everyone has a life beyond. You need to create. And gossip is a good thing. When you give professors time, like anyone else, they'll gossip. Some of the gossip would be about the research, about what they're doing, sustainability, about digitization, about blockchain, whatever else it is, about financial engineering. But you need time for that. Why did music flourish in Tanjore way back? Because they were wealthy, they had leisure. There was Tanjore, Kaveri waters, they could feed themselves well and be happy aristocrats. When you have leisure, you have time to reflect. But we are not able to create that ecology because of the resource constraints. Second is, where will you learn research? I remember attending a seminar addressed largely by Americans and Europeans. A young doctoral lady got up and said, "Sir, how do I publish in major journals?" And these guys said, "Well, your advisor is the best." How? But the advisor has never published in major journals. What? So where do we go? So these are issues. There, historically, we have a structural issue. The British left us with a legacy of universities and research labs. We never integrated the two. We have all these central labs and all that. There are lots of structural issues. No fault of us. We are where we are. Of course, we'll all become better when India's economy grows to 20 trillion or 21 trillion, but that's long ways. We can't wait. There are a lot of incremental steps that we could take, right? And that is what is important. Policymakers, and politicians and public servants, people, we get sometimes ambitious. For example, I think because I am editor-in-chief and all that, and UGC and others make it mandatory, I think, for doctoral students nowadays to get a doctoral degree to publish in a major journal or 2 publications. So school students are campering around. And, in UGC, if you go to Tata Institute of Social Sciences, or IITs, or any other place, Kurukshetra, only things that matter is Scopus Index journals. But Scopus Index journals aren't easy to come by. They're not easy to publish. So we have to recognize quality, and we have to be incremental. So what is it that we can do? What is it that we can do? Here is what we, and also, even if you work hard, it's like losing weight. Everything's sticky. It takes time for these efforts to come into fruition. So we need patience, right? And we have to recognize that we're a democracy. We have to respect public servants, politicians, and quite often we don't do that. And we have to respect policymakers and bureaucrats because they too have to respond to public sentiments. After we're a democracy. And we kind of say, oh, they're not as good as the British Raj. British Raj, there's no democracy. So we need to begin by respecting and engaging in a productive conversation, in a conversation that is on peer with policymakers, with elected officials and all that. We can do a lot of little things. And those little things together cumulatively add up. What is it that we could do? Look, we could. Now, we know the 5G and 4G and 3G. I was listening to a presentation by Mukesh Ambani where the Honorable Prime Minister was also speaking, AI, artificial intelligence, a 4-day, 5-day seminar organized by Government of India, all virtually. So you know that, thanks to Mukesh Ambani and others, right now and very shortly, most parts of India are going to be reasonably well connected. So one thing that we should do is we have to bring contemporary knowledge and education to all the outposts. And only media is internet and web technology. It has to be continuous. We're used to this boot camp training. We bring the teachers once in summer and they learn some contemporary concepts, go away. No, that won't happen because we forget. Human beings, we need continuous updating. So think of Khan Academy. Tata, Ratan Tata has invested. Take Khan Academy. So we can diffuse Khan Academy to all high schools. We should create a database, which actually IIT Bombay and IIT Kanpur have created. We should create a database, short videos on material science. We can have a whole doctoral seminar and advances in material science based on webinar technology. We don't have to go, MIT, why I cite MIT because they're doing a lot of engineering technology. They're offering everything. I mean, juniors and seniors, third years, graduate students, they're doing all their programs, engineering programs, online technology. So this excuse that only social sciences can be done through web technology, it ain't true. So we first should create a large database of productive subject domain at undergraduate, graduate, doctoral level. That we can. A lot of people will help within India, outside India. And with that, we can reach professors and faculty in Tripura or in Kanyakumari or Amravati, wherever, or some part of Kashmir. Number two is to a certain degree, we have to create an ecology. That is ecology that comes from all of us understanding scholarship is fundamental. When we approve vice chancellors, when we approve directors, the best person that we can get in terms of research. One of the things that is quite often when I deal with is that if you want to appoint someone as vice chancellor, oh, he's a great scholar, but does he know Delhi? This is the regulatory body. So what Delhi regulatory bodies, whether it's Bombay or in Chennai or in Delhi, can help is inspire confidence in governing institutions that please do appoint scholars, because if you appoint scholars, they're exemplars, right? They're exemplars. So we can create the ecology. It doesn't take rocket science. It just takes determination of the elected officials. It takes determination of the policy makers to be gently firm about it and create the ecology. Right? The third thing is Government of India has got only so much resources. They have well-meaning. They have a new policy, as Dr. Sharma laid out. They start institutes. I remember a long time back, mid-1980s, I think it is Gurgaon Management Development Institute, which was started by Chidambaram then and Rajiv Gandhi for training of bureaucrats and all the civil servants. I remember then Kaul was the ambassador here. And then, Chidambaram went to Harvard Business School Dean, then MacArthur, and came back empty-handed because he wasn't interested. Right? So that is a big disappointment for Chidambaram then. But my point is we have to bootstrap ourselves. We have to build our own talent. This concept of, partnerships or others are going to come save, it ain't going to happen that much because everyone is protecting their own territory. So one is, let's create an ecology. We can do through small baby steps. There's a whole science nudge, behavioral economics, that your little baby steps will take you. Let's create databases. I mean, not only for economics, easy. I'm talking about rocket science, aerospace, literally. We can, we should. and diffuse it, right? Here's what another thing. Government of India doesn't have money, and Harvard Business School would have, of course, done a partner with MDI if MDI had money. Government of India can only go that far. So what is it that we need to do? We need to encourage a culture of philanthropy. That translates now in India, everyone's starting a university, which is fine. There is Geo University, and there is, of course, good old Pi University, Manipal, long time. And Government of India did long time back, loosen the regulations. We have a lot of private universities. But that's fine. But I'm talking about, let's begin with GK, with Anu, with Vivek, with Tejinder, sending 500 rupees to our alumni institutions. MIT's budget is about 2 billion annual budget, more than that. And 40% of it comes from alumni endowment and alumni gifts, 40%. So we have to help. All of us can pitch in. Our own, we don't have to go too far. You went to some school, small, big, university, give money. We have to, create that culture. And, and big names, they give money to Harvard, 10 million, but not to. And I remember talking to a minister, and he said, we tell them, and they say, well, sometimes names go up. We're not sure it's used efficiently in India. We have to inspire confidence with industrialists and corporates and others who can give money. Gopala Krishna, one of the founders of Infosys, gave 250 crores to Indian Science. Bless his heart. Bless his heart. He could have given it to MIT and had his name, but he gave it to Indian Science. Bless his heart. So we need to encourage a culture of giving, particularly from alumni, small giving here and now, so that universities can have resources. Finally, this is a big one. None of us have control. Elected officials do, to a certain degree. I'm the bureaucrats, policymaker, is governance. We need to professionalize. Harvard is a private university, MIT is a private university, so is Stanford, everything that you know. But they are professionally governed. And India, the private universities, great kudos to government universities, state and the central government, have lack in governance. And Kapil Sibal introduced this bill, and that got stuck in Supreme Court. And and of course, politicians have to be responsive to citizens. They have to get elected. As Manmohan Singh once said, unless a politician gets elected the second time, he or she is a failure. But if you get elected the second time, you suddenly become, a legend. So it's important. But within those constraints of democracy, which is a great blessing, we are blessed as a nation to have democracy. We need to see what we can do with professionalizing the governance. I'll stop there, and we can do a lot of things. But my thing is this. Here is what, let me just leave it on this. We have to be incrementalist, please. I see that ambition, we roll out too much ambition. You should publish in top journals. Scopus indexed only. Those are difficult to accomplish. We need baby steps. We need to create the ecology. And together, if we do that, suddenly small baby steps cumulatively will build, cascade into a great effect. Thank you all for giving me an opportunity. I'll take a few questions, and then I'll spin out and say a prayer for all of you, myself and all of us, and for our own country, India. When India becomes prosperous, when I went to school, Regional Engineering College, Tiruchirappalli College. It's called National Institute of Technology. When I went there in 30, 40 years back, it was okay. And IITs were the big enchiladas, and RECs were. Now, REC Chichi, I'm told by all rankings, NIT Tiruchirappalli is considered a great institution. And I feel so happy about it. My degree looks so much better. So I would want every institution to grow in India with growth in education, and democratization is important. I really applaud. And not unlike others, I don't criticize. I'll say this. Once I was talking to the former president of Yale University. I was critical of Government of India then. They wanted to start, 12 excellent universities, Yale's partnership. And the president said, hey, let them do one. What he doesn't understand is we have to democratize quality education. I'm fully appreciative of that in terms of what policy paper folks do, what elected officials do, and what people like Dr. Sharma and the organization do. Exactly this. What is being accomplished here? Democratization of quality thought, quality education, and we can do that. Thank you all. I'll take a few questions and then spin out. My best regards. If there are any thoughts.
Tejinder ji?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything from your side?
Yes, sir. Indeed, Professor Gurumurthy has shown us the right mirror. He said, we have good students, but we really need to have good teachers who manifest their intellect through quality research. Sir, I know it's a difficult question. I know we could have talked good things, but then the point is we must know the reality also. The truth is, research really needs a complete revamping, sir. Research really needs a complete revamping. Mere having a policy decision that the students from tomorrow will start publishing only in Scopus Index journals is not going to make a difference. We really need to build an ecosystem. And sir, may I submit that we are slowly taking incremental baby steps in our institution, and we are trying to build a culture wherein we are trying to inspire students, groom students, so that they learn, they have an idea that they have to contribute to quality research. Doctoral research is the foundation of research. And if scholars can be better researchers, if they can carry their PhD thesis with pride and display 2-3 good publications by the time they complete their PhD thesis, I think so the whole landscape of India is going to change in a decade's time. So with this objective, we started a couple of programs with Haryana Commerce and Management Association. We started a workshop which extended for 8 weeks. And sir, indeed, the students really came up. They showed their enthusiasm. This is only a beginning. This is only a beginning, but then the real point is the things have to come as an inspiration. And indeed, sir, you have talked about governance, you have talked about, say, democratization, you have talked about philanthropy, you have talked about practicals. Everything is really very well taken off, sir. Your words are taken off as an inspiration for all of us. Sir, we have a few comments from a student. One student says, Seema Rajput, in the masters, the student should be given practical experience either to teaching or research or whatever they want to learn instead of repeating the same syllabus as back in graduation. Sir, indeed, you know, it's a very important thing. My request to you is, how would you respond to it? Building incremental differences in the knowledge as a student progresses in the institution.
So the student is quite right. You know, what he or she is saying is they basically relearns, use the same textbook that they got in the undergraduate education. But that's the point. The point is, why do you get that? And I'm not going back because the professor is not doing contemporary research. And the professor is not doing contemporary research, but for all the reasons that we cited, not to blame the professor. If the student were to be professor, he or she would be in the same situation. It's a compensation, it's the ecology, you know, we said all that. So the answer to your question, the student, is simply this: yes, we need to. And for example, one of the things we could do at the master's level, we could have, you know, really internship. For example, MIT, they have programs where you spend 6 months in a firm in the real world. You get credit for it. You write a thesis. But the challenge with that is our industry itself is not that quite ready. You know, frankly, how many people? I mean, we want to democratize. Remember, we don't want to be only IITs. We want Kurukshetra University to be an IIT or All India Institute of Medical Sciences. But how many of these students can our industry take? Not that many. So my point is, you have to bear with it. I agree with you that I'm referring to student, but we have to nudge, and we have to nudge that the biggest component is we need to create a research environment for our teachers. And what best we can, you can give a little money to your alumni institution, wherever you got an undergraduate, please send 100 rupees today. Today, please, you can do that. You can tell your MP, MLA, you can tell other people that you please appoint scholars as administrators, right? And those are the kinds of things we can bring, small pressures, and together you'll be surprised. It'll cascade into a big effect in as short a span as 5 years.
Sir, I would just say one word, hopefully.
One question before we close, because you have to go.
Yes, sir.
I just quickly wish to share with you, kindly see the backdrop. Making education relevant,
right.
Teachers and youth empowerment. Yeah. There is a BBC program called Hard Talk. This is a soft talk.
Yeah.
It is empowering young minds.
Yeah.
And down below, if you see, follow your passion. And we don't want to talk about living skills, which generally we teach. We want to give life skills. That is more important than living skills. Sir, research part is well taken, but I would request you, before we conclude and before we allow you to go, I would make a humble request to you. What is one thing which should be done for teachers' empowerment besides research? Because I am totally with you when you have mentioned we have got very good students.
Okay, here is, Sharma ji, here's the thing.
Please.
And we are no Singapore, don't get me wrong, we are no China, because China can do all this with the diktat. We are a democracy, therefore no chief minister, no prime minister, no minister can do diktat, no principal secretary, no one. But having said that, this is what I would do. If government of India or the Maharashtra government or the Punjab government can take this risk, that they advise through some kind of incentive scheme, subsidies, whatever, the various education institutions. There are a lot of private ones, right? I mean, private ones and the government one, that they will reduce the teaching load for professors for 2 years. Now, that may go complete waste, because professors may twiddle their thumbs and may spending more time with their family or teach in another college, completely. But I think governments and with their own institutions, state or central, and through leaning on private institutions, reduce the teaching load for professors required. They get 2 lakh salary or 150,000 rupees, whatever it is. For that, now they have to teach 4 courses, 5 courses, 6 courses per semester. Reduce it to some reasonable number. I mean, you can think of what it is, and take a chance for the next 3 years. See what happens. That is something we can do, because that will release time. Sharma ji, if you don't have time, you can't do a thing in life. As I told you, you can't reflect. You're always scampering around. So let us give people time, the professors, or increase the salary so dramatically. But that's the resource. This can be done. Give people time and guide people to access to open courseware education that's available, and let's also create these databases. 2 things that we can do. Knowledge. And I'm not talking about marketing में बहुत है, ये नहीं है. अब material science में चाहिए, aerospace में चाहिए, समझिए ना? So ऐसा information database, real knowledge we build, that's one thing. And let us take a risk, if that's the right phrase. Let us bet our hopes on our citizens, teacher citizens, and give them release time and see what happens. Let's take a chance. What's the worst? That's what I would do, if you ask me for one thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks
Happy
for your most valuable time, and we pray to Almighty good prayers for your puja, what you have to do. Do remember us in your prayers.
I'm going to say in Sankalpam, I'm going to include all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. To empower Indian education system.
Thank you, Vivek,
thank you,
Anu,
sir.
And thank you,
sir. Thank you. Haji.
So now we have Professor Anu Vij. It's a proud moment for us to welcome Professor Anu Vij, who has been an alumnus of Kurukshetra University Department of Commerce and is presently working as a dean in Aldar University, Aldar College in United Arab Emirates. Madam Anu is very actively into education administration, and she has got very rich experience into the operationals now. Now, you know, in India, we are talking about so many new things which we are implementing. We are talking about LOCF framework. We are talking about choice-based credit system. We are talking about curriculum redesign. We are talking about flexibility. We are talking about transfer of credits. Now, I would request Dr. Anu to kindly give her views on the experiences, on her experiences, on how they have been made successfully implemented into their context, and what lessons can we learn when we extrapolate them into the Indian condition. Dr. Anu, please.
Thank you so much, and very good evening to everyone. I extend my thanks to Dr. Gulshan. You had a very wonderful presentation, and it was very informative and educational. Thank you, Professor Tejendra Sharma. I've had the pleasure to associate with you while I was doing my PhD. And I do remember and thank you for being my co-guide at that time. Yeah, I'm very proud to be alumnus of Kurukshetra University. And let me tell you that where I am presently placed, we have a big Kurukshetra University community here, and the alumni are really doing wonders here. Thank you very much, and thank you, Professor Vivek, also. And hello to you. And it was a riveting discussion that Professor GK did, and very lively, very entertaining. And I could gauge how things are already moving forward in US, and how in India we can follow the same path, and we can also follow the same line of education. I took the liberty to have a look at the National Education Policy 2020, which has been recently released, and it is really very, very competitive. There is no thing that has not been included here, which we see in Western education. And I hope that if it is really implemented as it is professed, then I do believe that our kids and the future generation will really, really do wonders. Allow me to share my screen for a second, if I can, just for a second. I would like to just show you this as an example. These are some child prodigies of India, Indian origin. They are doing wonders. This one, he's Tejinder. He has recently, he won an International Wildlife Photography Award. He's barely a child, just a teenager. This 4-year-old Advait, he's from Canada, again Indian origin. He already has done his first solo art exhibition. And Tanishk, he is 15-year-old, already finished engineering, and is going to start his doctorate, University of California. My point here is that when we look at these people, these kids who are from Indian origin and doing really exceptional tasks and exceptional deeds outside of India, we feel happy, and then we feel a little bit pained also. And then we think that what is missing in our education, that our kids cannot do exceptionally beautifully in the market and in whatever trade they wish to do so. As I was talking about the national policy, National Education Policy of India 2020, there is one point which lays emphasis on curriculum, pedagogies, the assessments, and the student experience. Now, as per my experience of teaching back in India, I have taught in engineering college, I have taught in business institutes also at graduate as well as undergraduate level. And as per my experience here in UAE, I've been here for the last 10 years, and I have been associated with graduate and undergraduate programs. There is a huge gap that we see in our curriculum and what the industry needs. So in my point of view, this new education policy, if it focuses really on bridging the gap between the curriculum and what industry actually needs, the relevance in the industry and the curriculum. If that huge that huge chasm, that huge gap is going to be overcome, then we can really hope to do wonders. In my opinion, there are some areas which are still ignored, and we can, in India, in Indian universities, these areas can be really focused upon. I do have to an intel on these areas. For example, curriculum, practicum experience, innovation, and the point of universities can really do wonders, and they can really improve the higher education specifically. Now, when we talk about the curriculum, what about the curriculum? I mean, like I showed you some examples, a student of, he's barely 15 and he's done his engineering and he's going to start doctorate program. So do we have such kind of a dynamic curriculum in which we can encourage our students to go beyond their borders, to go beyond their capacities, and really experiment with what they are learning and what they are studying? Can, as Dr. Gulshan said, and I was listening very intently, can an art student, really jump into mathematics, or a math student can join management and really become a hotshot business wizard? Do we have that kind of flexibility in our education that can allow our students to really cross the border of trade, cross the border of discipline, an area of specialization in which we like to basically bind them and not allow them to really experiment? So this is something which can be improved in Indian education. I say it from experience. My kids are studying in CBSE curriculum, so I do say it from experience, and these things can be improved. For example, when we talk about curriculum, what kind of dynamism do we have in higher education curriculum? I mean, I do know that Indian universities have the course learning objective concept, the program learning objective concept. There is a program learning outcome, there are course learning outcomes. But are these really measured? Are these really achieved? Are the assessments that are designed in the curriculum, they are aligned with the learning objectives? Or are they, both the curriculum learning, the course learning objectives, as well as the assessment, is it aligned to the level of the course? Okay, now there are courses at level 1, level 2, and they have learning objectives which are very basic. What is the student going to get out of it? He's going to be cheated of his money, of his time. And I heard the question that someone, an attendee, was putting up to you, Professor Tejinder. And yes, this is a big gap. How we can improve the curriculum from that. The second level is how we can improve the curriculum from one level of program to another level of program, one lower level, for example, from an undergraduate to a graduate program. So are these concepts really focused upon? Is there ample opportunity of training for the faculty? Now, who is going to design the curriculum? Now, when we put up our syllabi here in our universities in UAE, we have to submit it for the approval of the Ministry of Education here. And we have broad and detailed guidelines here, according to which we have to design the curriculum, and also to benchmark it with top universities in US, in Canada, in Europe, in region, in the Middle East region, as well as locally. So there is an extensive benchmarking exercise also, which is happening simultaneously while curriculums are being designed. Now, this is another suggestion for Indian universities to see whether international universities and whether the syllabi of other universities are looked at, or something different from the convention, from the conventional syllabus is broken and something new is being incorporated. Now, there are various taxonomies and there are various methodologies of designing the curriculum. We have done extensive exercises in our school, at the school level, and also at the university level, to train faculty how to design curriculum, because it is not an easy job to set the learning objectives of the course, because these learning objectives basically decide what the student is going to get out of the course. And these learning objectives are basically useful by the administrators like you, Professor Tejinder, like when we are at the administrative end, you need these learning objectives and the measurement out of them to see whether your program has achieved its objective or not. Now, why are we talking about this? We need to know, and we need to do these steps. We need to take these steps because we need to engage our student. We need to prepare our student to match the industry. Now, a student who is studying the conventional business disciplines, as Professor GK was also saying, and when he comes out, when he graduates, he sees that there are very few jobs in let us say, human resource. There are very less jobs. Why? Because in an organization, there is one human resource official. So basically, the probability of getting into the jobs is reduced by a huge fraction. So how are the students aware what is required? Are the universities aware what is needed in the industry? Is there any hookup with the companies and practitioners in the market? Real practitioners who can actually give advice, not after the student has graduated or when he's about to graduate for a guest lecture, but the advice should come when the curriculum is being designed, because this curriculum is the Bible. It is a contract between the university and the student. Once it is decided, finished, then he has to or she has to follow the curriculum. The teacher, the faculty has to follow the curriculum, and the student will go out and step by step graduate with the conventional education. So my point here, what I'm trying to bring out is how dynamically a curriculum can be designed, how benchmarking exercises can be incorporated, and they should become a part and parcel of the design process, of the instructional design process. How faculty can be trained to design the curriculum. Everybody, we have graduates, you just finished their PhD, they haven't yet even done their teaching practice, and they come to join and they start teaching. What is the kind of support given to the faculty by the universities, by what is the mandatory requirement by the commissions that are needed for the faculty to become adept in designing a curriculum, because it is coming out of their computers. So these are certain things which can be incorporated. Now here, when we are talking about in the context of Middle East, when we are looking at the universities here, we need to have a mandatory advisory committee. Now this advisory committee is full of people who are from industry. And these experts, industry experts, they keep giving their inputs and advice periodically in semester by semester, so that new curriculums, new areas, new ventures can be explored. For example, we started our university with the conventional marketing, accounting, and HR specialization. We started the business program with those 3 conventional specializations. And we involved the industry people as was required, and we were given the input that UAE economy is becoming, it's shifting from, you can say, a services economy to, let us say, more manufacturing economy. So the concentration of industrial management was it was proposed. We explored it, we benchmarked it, and we sent the proposal to our ministry, and it was approved. Similarly, requirements. The point here is that courses and streams and areas which are not needed in the market, which are not having industry relevance, to be made redundant, to be taken out of the syllabus, to be cut down totally. And areas which are actually needed, areas which are upcoming, specifically in Indian context. It's a manufacturing economy. It's a huge economy, though the pandemic has put us back, let us say, a notch. But it's an economy built on manufacturing, built on primary, you can say, output. It is built on services. There is no dearth of you can say areas which of business or trade which are not present. So is there a linkage? Is there you can say a nexus between the practitioners and the academician? That gap has to be bridged, and that has to happen right at the point where curriculums are designed. And this is supported by the national education policy. of India 2020, which when it talks about the curriculum, when it talks about the pedagogies. Now, when we talk about the pedagogies, now there are different learning methods and technologies that are coming up. Technology is a huge word. We use it very casually. How are we roping in technology? How are we bringing it to our syllabus? How are we bringing technology to every student who we are engaged with, who we are associated with? Are we giving him something technical? For example, let us say if a student is studying marketing, then the digital marketing and social media marketing should be made compulsory for the student to study. There should be no choice because the world is going online. It has already gone online even before the pandemic. So we don't see promotions. We don't see companies spending money on banners or outside outdoor promotions. They have easily switched to digital promotion. Similarly, when we talk about accounts and finance, how many of our students are actually getting or taking trainings of for example, SCATs, the computer aided accounting tools, and such like technologies which are required by them? Why are we teaching them only from textbooks? So these things are required to be part of the syllabus itself, which is the basis, which is the foundation of education, because a weak syllabus will produce a weak output. An empowered and a dynamic syllabus and a curriculum will definitely turn out a very engaged, a very motivated, a technically sound output who will be ready to face national as well as international market. So from my point of view, what I would like to say is that these are some things that in Indian curriculum they can be you can say involved. Then there is talk of practical exposure and practical experience. Dr. GK was telling about it, practicum experience and internships. This is a mandatory requirement for all professional graduate programs and undergraduate programs. Now, these practical experience, I am aware, I have relatives in US and I have nephews and nieces who are studying in school still, and they are doing internships right from class 10th onwards. So practical experience and practical exposure to the area of choice is very, very important. And what is the investment by the school, by the university in that? What is the role of the state in that? Now, this is to be explored. Students need to be given the right track where they can work, and they have the ability, then they have the chance, the opportunity to apply what they are studying to practical experience. This is very, very important. And I heard Dr. GK telling about alumni. Yes, a very important measure and this is basically costless measure is to have a huge alumni network, to have a very sound alumni network, and bringing them in is a very cost effective method, no doubt about it. Of course, involving students in every facet of education life is wonderful, is good. Let me tell you, I was talking to you about the advisory committee. I have included my rester years, pass outs and graduates who are working in banks and in other sectors, and they are part of the advisory committee of our school. So this is something which can really benefit and improve and really add value to the curriculums that we are giving to our students. So the bottom line here is engagement, students' engagement. We have a weak curriculum, our student is not engaged. Sometimes, most of the times, you will have students like Advait and Tanishq that I just showed you, who will be far smarter than how we are, and we more often than not, we face such students who have better IQ and who are far smarter. So we need to have a dynamic curriculum. We need to have curriculum which can, really have competitive assessments, and we need to, support our students and deviate from the testing mechanism to empowering mechanism, and enabling mechanism. One such method could be, by strengthening our teaching resources, like we are giving them textbook and materials, and nowadays PowerPoints and all that. But apart from that, the universities can invest in subscribing to really powerful databases like EBSCO, like ProQuest and such like databases, and push students to really access work, academic work from these databases. So, empowering student and letting them work independently and letting them submit and do research work in various courses, and letting them do practical live assignments in subjects where it can happen. These are some of the things that we can really easily incorporate in our curriculums, and churn out a better product. Apart from this, there are other concerns which, yes, the curriculum in India may face, which is internationalization. I'm aware that there are many schools, business schools, and other technical education-oriented schools. They have made nexus MOEs, MOUs with other universities in US, in Canada, in other sectors. This is another big step, another you can say wonderful step, and this can really help. Student exchanges, faculty exchanges. These steps can also help in really making the education more competitive, and involving a different paradigm, involving different perspectives in a conventional education system. So these are some areas, some points which I wanted to share with you. And let me tell you, all these are they are not new, and we have done them, and we have very successfully incorporated them. We have really empowered our students, and here in UAE, we have a compulsory syllabus for all higher education institutions, which is called innovation and entrepreneurship. All the students must, mandatorily, they must take this course, and they have to make projects out of this course. Many of such projects are going for patents, they are going for spin-offs, and they are getting funding from companies outside in the market. If the idea is, obviously, if only if the idea is valid, it is really having good value, and it can be really turned into business. So these are some points I wanted to share with you. Yes, Dr.
Professor Anu, could you be kind enough to elaborate a little bit more onto this innovation and entrepreneurship? This is a very important subject, very important subject, because this you have introduced over there. I would request if you can devote 5 minutes on this. It's very important, because innovation and entrepreneurship, I'm saying, you have touched my soul somewhere. So I would request, please elaborate this point. Professor Saab, this is something very important. I would request her to take on.
Okay, absolutely, and I'm very much. We are very much motivated on innovation. When we talk about the macro point, I think Professor GK was talking about the macro aspect of education. I was focusing on the micro aspect, the foundation, the inbuilt, the creating the structure of education. Now, when we talk from the macro aspect, again, like Dr. GK was telling, an economy cannot grow with only things which are old and which they have been doing for a long time. Obviously, we need new things, we need uniqueness, we need innovation in every aspect, in every sphere of our life, business or personal. So innovation is here in this part, and I'm sure in West, it is not just a subject, it is a way of life, it is a perspective, and students must be in India. Students must be asked to take this course, and there must be a thrust by the state level to create a course of innovation, or to integrate innovation in every curriculum, which is kind of difficult. It's easier for me to say, but it is not that easy. It is difficult, because then it will require again training to the faculty, and detailed empowerment to the faculty to create this. But yes, innovation should be part of curriculums, and or it should be part of program, at the program level or at the course level. Somewhere it should be there.
When we know that in future there are not going to be much of jobs, technology is going to take over, startup, stand-up, entrepreneurship, all three are very important for us. And please elaborate, this is something which is the most important part of your presentation. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. You are very much correct that technology has already overpowered us. Even before the pandemic, it has already overpowered us. And now in the present times, in these emergent times, and moving forward, looking forward, we can safely say that by doing the conventional thing, we cannot hope to sustain. We cannot hope to move forward. So yes, innovation in every field is required. Now what is innovation and how student can actually work in this area? Innovation can be, it can be just a small idea, or it can be something which is which can be introduced to an existing, you can say, business practice, to an organization, to a trade, to a convention. It can be introduced, which can bring something new to that, to performing of that activity or task or trade, which can reduce time, which can reduce cost, which can reduce effort. These things, well, this is innovation. Or something totally new which has not been thought about. uh, I think this is, I do know of some of my colleagues back in India who are already filing for patents, and they are working on this aspect. But at the level of higher education institutions, at the level of even the primary K-12 education, I think innovation, introducing this in the curriculum, is a must, so that students learn to think out of the box. They learned to go, to know, to be able to say that 2 plus 2 is 4, and 2 plus 2 can be 5 as well. I can prove it to you how. So they must know a way, a trick, the ability to be critically active, to be able to do things which are not taught to them in any curriculum, which are not taught to them. This is innovation. And that is why, well, we do have a syllabus of innovation, but actually there is no curriculum of innovation. It's only a thought process. Okay. And how we can develop, and how we can push the student, just nudge the student to basically work for that thought process, and put innovation to everything in his life or in her life, in business, in personal life, or elsewhere. So this is something which our economy is based on, and this is something which our economy should be based on, and should focus to introduce in the curriculums. And it can really do wonders. I was giving you an example of cats. We have accounting students, a lot of them. It's a very popular concentration on business that we have. And now we have we did a conference on how computer aided auditing has taken over the world, and how auditors, they don't need to do manual checks. So something different has to come in the flow in business, in order to keep us ticking, and in order to keep us, way ahead and at par in the rankings, in the international rankings. I was talking to Dr. Tejinder about this, that we are working a lot on national and international accreditations. Now, this is also something which is linked with innovation, and how we are, coming up with new things, new ideas, new practices, new conventions, and they basically prepare us also as academicians to be ranked at a high level in international, you can say, accreditation societies, and accreditation, you can say, academies. So innovation, yes, and entrepreneurship is why should you be someone who wants to take a job somewhere? We have to push our student and encourage them to say that be the guy who gives job to 10 people. So this is the kind of setup and the mental makeup that we have to give to our student right from the beginning. And this can only happen if we empower and create a curriculum which is really very dynamic, and which is suited to the industry, and which is really critically oriented to bring out the best from our incumbent student. I thank you very much. And if there are
one more point, Dr. Anu, very important. What is your one suggestion to empower Indian educator? What is your one suggestion? Just one suggestion, like Professor Gurumurthy gave. What is your take on that? How do we empower our teachers? And meanwhile, all the participants, those are joining us from the world over, today is a very important day. Today is a festival day. And I'm thankful to Professor Tejinder for arranging this particular non-resident Indians diasporas program. All of you, those are watching this program, and those of us who are posting their comments on the social media, please send your suggestion. What should be the contribution of non-resident Indians towards Indian education system? The best answer will get 10,000 rupees cash award today. From the chamber, we'll give you 10,000 rupees. Please post your suggestions. I want to get suggestions. We have already collected from 25th of March onward 100,000 suggestions. Already we have got. Now I want today all the people, those are on social media from the world over, those are watching this program, what could be the role, what could be the contribution of Indian diaspora, our non-resident Indian brothers and sisters world over? How could they contribute to empower Indian, I won't call it empower, no, implement the new education policy 2020. What can they do? And whosoever sends the most creative idea, you will get 10,000 rupees cash award today itself. Let's work it out. So, Professor Anu, I come back to you. What would be your one take? What suggestion you would like to give? I'm taking the liberty because you are from Kurukshetra. That's why I'm not allowing Professor Tejinder to ask you this question. Because I am asking you this question. Please do give me one suggestion. One suggestion. What should be done to empower Indian educators, teachers, professors, whosoever is there? Whether school education or higher education or technical education, vocational education, whatever you want to suggest, any one suggestion. Meanwhile, all the participants keep posting, keep posting. I want to get your suggestions. I want your participation. And those of us, those have joined, if you want to get international e-certificate of today's webinar, kindly post your email on the YouTube so that we know that you are there. Okay, please, Professor Anu.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Gulshan. And yes, Dr. GK talked about the research funding. I heard from him. I would like to say that to empower the educator, and specifically in Indian context, there is a dire need for training to the educator, and there is a dire need to empower the faculty at the level of you can say, resources are there, but there has to be training. I believe in that, and I believe that the faculty should be trained in terms of not only design, in terms of implementation, in terms of research, in terms of utilization of resources. There should be a confidence level which should be given to the faculty, and there should be an autonomy which should be given to the faculty so that they can design their own curriculums, and they can give their views and their you can say their academic and other kinds of advice to their respective organizations. That kind of liberal setup should be there. There should be academic councils which really hear the faculty. I'm not talking about the chairs and the deans here. I'm talking about the faculty, because they are the ones who are next to the customer, which is the student. So the faculty needs to be heard. The faculty needs to be trained. The faculty needs to be empowered, and they need to be allowed to design their courses and their programs the way they wish to, and they should be heard. So there has to be, obviously it cannot happen randomly. There has to be a system. There has to be a proper method, a proper protocol for this. And schools and universities should come in here and try to design that.
Thank you,
Very
Anu.
much, Dr. Tejinder and Dr. Gulshan, and it's a lovely experience. And being a fellow Kurukshetrian and alumnus of Kurukshetra University, I feel really very, very privileged. Thank you.
Professor Saab.
You see, I was just reading the wonderful comments which you have received from the students and the people who have attended this. Indeed, one, I think so, the best thing that has happened from your deliberations is that it has led to the, thought process in the minds of not only the faculty, but researchers, students, everywhere. We are really talking of all these things because when we'll talk, we'll think, when we'll think, we'll act upon, and when we'll act upon, we'll make incremental changes slowly. We'll have daily improvements on daily basis, on weekly basis. And you see some of the points which show they are talking about and agreeing with you, supporting you in terms of it. But then the point is, I mean, how really we all get down and put all the things in order so that we can really make education relevant. Answers are known to everyone. Now the point is implementing part. And your experience is definitely very, very valuable. And Dr. Anu will definitely be in touch with you, make use of your experiences. Particularly, I'm very enthusiastic when you said design the course objectives. How do we design the course objectives for our AMCOM programs? And then finally, how do we really go about measurement? Some of the things from your experience will be very valuable for you, and maybe I'll request you for another webinar at our end as well.
Sure.
So really extremely thankful to you for taking time. And of course, yes, I'm thankful to Mohit also for introducing me to you once again. Initially, I'd contacted him, so he put you on board, and we are extremely thankful with your rich experience. It shows the amount of grooming and learning which you have had in last few years. Indeed, it's mind blowing and definitely very inspiring for everyone of us. Wish you all the best. God bless you, and have a great future. Thank you very much for being on board today.
And Dr. Professor Sahab, I have got a special link with her. My daughter name is Anu. her full name is Avantika, but otherwise she is Anu. So I've got a special bond. God bless you, child. We are so proud of you. It's so well, I mean to say, elaborated, and you have given. And I'm very keen to understand your syllabi on innovation and entrepreneurship. Whatever you are having in your academy, your organization, we would love to have that. Thank you very much. Professor Saab.
So now we take the opportunity to invite Dr. Vivek Natarajan. Hello.
He is having a multi-roles because puja is also going on over there, and they are performing puja. Professor Vivek ji, are you there? If you can kindly unmute your mic, it would be very kind of you. Professor Vivek, because there is a puja going on at his place. So I think till the time he comes, Professor Saab, till the time
he's just joining us in a second.
He's just joining. Okay. Yes, please.
So, no, namaste. I'm here. First of all, a very warm good evening to all of you. Happy Navratri, today it's already Vijay-Dashmi here, and so we are doing a Ram Katha, so I had to go and do the Mangalam there, Mangalacharan there. So I have been doing triple duties. I have pujas at home and guests, and then I had to take care of another video call, and then I have to take care of this. But I was telling Professor Sharma, when it comes to India, when it comes to education, that is the first thing. I'm first and foremost an Indian, and first and foremost I'm an educator. So when that comes, like a soldier, we have to leave everything. Even Bhagwan Ram did not do puja; he was fighting for dharma. And I'm very inspired by Gulshan Sharma ji. Namaste, sir. As a soldier, I salute you because you are. We live in peace because you toil in the war zones. So, sir, thank you so much for your service to the nation. In front of you, we are nothing, I'm so delighted on this auspicious day to be part of this. And second, thanks to my wonderful friend from the land of Bhagavad Gita, Professor Sharma. So he is kind of like an elder brother to me. And if he says something, the only thing I can say is yes, I cannot say no. So that is kind of that is one challenge I have with him. And so, so one thing he might have said a lot of hype about me, please do not believe me. Just for the record, just to give you a little background about myself, and from what I understand, the first speaker, GK, who is also my guru, he's just Gurumurthy, but he's also guru to me. So, when your teacher speaks and then you have to speak after your teacher, it's an honor to be in the same thing. And same thing with, for Professor Sharma, his student, Professor Anu was here. So we're kind of seeing this Guru Shishya Sambandh also in this, as Gulshan Sharma ji said, this is a panchayat, and you said 5. This 5 is very special. And in the Devi scriptures, it is said, Pancha Sankhyopacharini. Pancha means it, Karya Sadhakaha. Pancha means it is very auspicious. Everything is Mangal. So with that, so I'm basically from the southern part of India, from Bangalore, but her roots in Tamil Nadu. I was named after a Bengali, Swami Vivekananda. I was born in Pune in the western part of India, and my master's is from Punjab University, Chandigarh. So from every perspective, I don't think I consider myself 100% Indian, because my footprint is all over India. So with that spirit, sir, so when you said NRI Punjabis, I'm one of the Punjabis because I'm a Punjab University. That's something I cannot take away from my background. And what I am today is because of the wonderful education that was provided to me in Chandigarh. So with that, I just wanted to reflect on, so that's an advantage of going last. I said, I always prefer to go last because it's easy to do the Mangalam. Mangalam means it's always auspicious at the end. So people can do the fight in the beginning, but Hant mein to sab Mangali hota hai. So I'm going to do the Mangal stuff. So basically, I'll just come back to one thing, what you said, and let me talk of the NRI days. I was not aware that you were involved in it in such a big day. But those of you who, by the way, my university is Lamar University, part of Texas State University system. We are about 90 miles east of Houston, but I live in the Houston area. So technically, it's in a city called Beaumont, which is in the oil and gas area. So about 100 or 200 miles in that whole area is all oil refinery plant. So technically, it's the energy belt of the United States. So I'm very, very close to that part of the world. So, a lot of my friends are in the energy business. And so that's what Houston is famous for. And so for last year, around this time during Navratras, Houston was in the news for the simple reason it was Howdy Modi. Howdy means welcome in Texas. And I was fortunate. In fact, whenever I go, and even today I was selling, in fact, this cap was given to me in Shimla in HP University, thanks to Professor Sharma. So a lot of things that I've collected is because of him. In fact, I can have a whole museum thanks to him, Professor Sharma. So he makes me get gifts whenever I go and speak. So, he's like an RG for me. So let's put it that way. So anyway, so I wore this actually when Prime Minister Modi came and spoke to an audience of, close to 100,000. And the energy was palpable. And then we saw that there was something vision in making. And I was a speck in the crowd, but I was glad to be a speck. There is no way I would have missed it. So that really awakened me, but I'm sure to many of us, what is the potential of the NRIs? So for a long time, people think NRIs means the Naraha Indians. That is not true. Whenever an Indian leaves the shores of Bharat, he takes a part of Bharat in him. Previously, when you're an Indian, you live in India. But when you're an NRI, the India lives in you. So you become a living symbol of India. So there is that passionate attachment to the motherland. You can never cut that umbilical cord. In fact, the warmth and the fondness grows as the distances and the time increases. So there's always a part of us that is always lurking and beating for India. And some of us would like to come and serve India in many capacities. And so there cannot be a better example of Pravasiya Bharatiya than Mahatma Gandhi ji. So, which is his, birth month this year with 125th, thing. So with that, so that's a premise. Let me go to the premise of, and we have to be proud that our alumni, our folks have done well. For example, for the Harvard Business School. I'm in the business school, and for the second time now, they have a person of Indian origin who's going to become the dean, Professor Shrikant Datar, taking over from Professor Nitin Noria. In my own school, we have had a dean of Indian origin who later on became a president. So university deans, presidents, chairs, provosts of Indian origin is something that is not even news any longer. So it's become, we have arrived in that sense. Okay, so that's a proud moment for Indian education. And I'm a part of, I typed an organization name in the chat box, Society of Indian Academics in America. I happened to join that organization last month. It's a wonderful group of academicians who are looking at how can we improve India, how can we give back. So there's that heart that lurks very, very much in us. So with that, premise, I want to talk about NEP. So NEP, what did I like about NEP? And so the macro and micro has been covered. The curriculum is flexible. That is kind of reflective of the way the US thing is. And it's pretty much reflecting how education, so if you can call this the education policy 3.0, because 68 was 1, 86 were 2. And so if 2020, and there's a hindsight is 2020. So we have the wisdom of so much experience. So 2020 will probably be known for the new education policy for, we don't want this to be called as the year of COVID. We should look at it as the year of the watershed moment in education, as in the history of Indian education, as the new education policy. So my kudos, my gratitude to the Prime Minister, the HRD minister, and the wonderful team of bureaucrats. I've looked at the Subramaniam committee report also. So a lot of good people have worked very hard to make this happen. And with any policy, there might be challenges, there might be issues. And we have to see how the rubber meets the road, as Professor Vij said. But having said that, I think it is it's certainly a very bold step, taking India to the next, positioning India to go to the next level, if you will. And so that is something. So what did I like about it? The curriculum has some level of flexibility. The credits are stackable, and that is important because let's understand this. What are the odds? I mean, I started my college at the age of 17, and of course, my dad was an electrical engineer, and I went into it, and I'm glad I did. But later on, I figured out my persuasion was most in the area of behavioral sciences. And but luckily, I came into an MBA, and then I did a PhD, so I was able to find my passion. At 20, what are the odds that you'll like what you did at 18? So having some flexibility is important. Stackability is important. Sometimes kids are very flexible, and we have seen Harvard dropouts like Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg go on to find they are able to become co-founders of great companies. So that flexibility where we can have high achievers create a new pathway is important. And I think this policy is taking it in that direction. I think that's a very good thing. Certainly, we need an interdisciplinary approach. In India, I mean, that is not something new to the Indian psyche. What do I mean by that is when we talk of our kalas, our vidyas, we talk about Chatushashti, that is 64 vidyas are supposed to be given in the ancient gurukuls. So there is always a healthy blended learning. I mean, look at our food. We talk about shad rasas, you have to have food that is mixed with, sour, sweet. I mean, there's a mixture. We never have emphasized one thing. Even in Ayurveda, we talk about Vata, Pitta, Kapha. There is always a blend of various things, and then it also is customized based on the individual. So that is the principle of Ayurveda. There are Vata, Pitta, Kapha doshas, and you give what the medicine works for the person. So this policy is in that direction. I mean, there's flexibility, and that flexibility is what we call as in marketing as one-on-one marketing. Can we create the customized product for the customer at the end? Principle of mass customization. Is that possible? And I think we need that. And to some extent, the policies is looking in that direction. Of course, there are challenges in implementation. There will be. I mean, but that's really where the fun is. I mean, can you surmount the challenges and can we win? And India has shown it can win. Look at ISRO. Look at what we have done with bold, ambitious Chandrayaan projects. Look at what we have done with in the nuclear weapons. I mean, we are certainly proud, and I'm very optimistic. Our science, our professors can pull it together. So that's one thing. Interdisciplinary. What are the things? The roadmap. my colleagues talked about benchmarking. So one of the things, I'm in the business school, we talk about AACSB and other accreditations. And I think Indian schools are already doing it. The other thing is internationalization. And even there, India is not behind. Actually, look at it. The IITs were all seeded with collaborations from, I think IIT Madras was Germany, and IIT Delhi was, I think, USA. So there is all this history. Same thing with IIM Ahmedabad. They started with Harvard Business School. And lo and behold, the school that was set up with Harvard Business School, IIM Ahmedabad's alumni, is now going to become the dean there. So we have that internationalization. We are just where we are not only consumers, but we are also contributors. Has already happened, is happening, will continue to happen. It's just the scale will have to change, and the context might also change. Previously, it meant that people would travel and teach, but now look at this own seminar. I mean, on Zoom, the world is one marketplace, but the world is also one education place. And you're making this happen, this global confluence. I mean, we use the word Prayag. So this is basically a Gyan Prayag. You have created a Gyan Prayag, a Vishwa Gyan Prayag. So that is happening as we speak, Gulshan ji and Tejinjar ji. So that is something that is already happening. And we Indians are always technologically, we are really ahead. I mean, our broadband speeds are so good. Our internet speeds are so good. I mean, so that is not a problem. Same thing, intersectoral also. How can each sector learn from one another? So can we learn from the armed forces? For example, the example of logistics or supply chain, a lot of it started with the research in the armed forces during World War II. So similarly, a lot of pedagogy or what we talk has all come from higher ed, educational research. So can we take that into a new context? Can we make that succeed? So those are all elements of the new education policy that I think is useful. Now, again, I have the advantage of piggybacking on a couple of what my colleagues said. So these are all the good things. So I've covered the diaspora. I've covered about the relevance of the new education policy as succinctly as possible. Now, what do we do? At the end of the day, let's put it this way. Although we have recognized institutions, Vishwavidyalayas, they used to be Gurukuls and all, but at the end of the day, in the Indian model, the recognition is not for the dean, not for the director, they're all facilitators. Whom do I remember? I remember my professor, the guru. The guru is the central figure. And typically a guru, acharya, prabhada, I mean, there are various technical names, upadhyaya, acharya, and all that. But again, I'm not going into those categories. At the end of the day, there was the teacher and the shishya. The shishya, guru-shishya relationship is very sacred. And which means we need to empower the professor. And which means the professors also have to become seekers of knowledge. I mean, the teacher is a lifelong student, but they also have to seek a way to bootstrap themselves. I can't think of a better example than my own friend. And again, I'm not being patronizing here. I'm not being, I'm just a fact. My good friend Tejinder, how do I know him? We met in a conference, and after that we've kept in touch. And he was never. We always corresponded on equal terms because he was so confident about his skill sets that he could say, what, it doesn't matter, you may be in the US, but I know my subject. We need that confidence level in the teachers to go and publish with others. And remember, confidence will generate more confidence. Respect begets respect. If you are proud, if you are confident, as the Prime Minister says, Atmanirbhar. If you are Atmanirbhar in your own field, you can work with the best everywhere. And I am very sure our faculty are second to none when it comes to teaching skills, when it comes to research skills, when it comes to communication skills. But we just need to create mechanisms, and some of these mechanisms already exist. For example, in my own discipline, business and marketing, there is a marketing group of Indian academics that works and has conference every year in India. That's where I think Tejinder and I met. Similarly, every IIM is hosting foreign delegates. I mean, everything I'm on Zoom, I'm seeing US professors consistently on Zoom that we are trying to contribute back to the motherland. So that linkage can even happen at a higher level through institutional building, where we can have US professors work with Indian professors very easily, and their NRI professors can play a role, be a catalyst in taking this to the next level. I think that is needed, but at the end of the day, the engagements have to be done from a position of strength to strength. It is not, of course, yeah, when we talk of innovation, previously we used to talk of the waterfall model, wherein an innovation would happen in the US and 20 years down the line, it will come in India. Today, it's a sprinkler model. What's happening in the US is happening in India. I looked at some of the concepts that are taught in our schools. They're being taught in Indian business schools, and the credit goes to professors like Tejinder Ji, who not only teaches, but who empowers others to teach through these seminars. So these linkages are very vital, and I congratulate both Sharma Ji, our Major Saab, as I will call him, and Professor Saab. So they said Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan. So we have a Jai Jawan here, and we have a Jai Vigyan here in the form of. So thank you. So this collaboration is needed. We need Ma Durga and Ma Saraswati are coming together and making this happen. And then Ma Lakshmi will not be far behind. She will have to come. This is on the Navratra day. So that level of linkages is what we need. So that is happening. Now, so celebrating teachers, and so we have there. I think can we recognize teachers? Can there be mechanisms to do that? We have Dronacharya awards. We have Arjuna awards. But how about having Chanakya awards for folks who do research in Arthashastra? How about having Vatsyayana awards for people who do research in Kamshastra? Just some names, Aryabhatta awards. When are we going to give and recognize our local heroes? Of course, we have Bhatnagar prizes and all that. Again, I'm just throwing some ideas into open. How can we recognize our gurus? And I congratulate the HRD ministry. They started recognizing Guru Purnima also as a day we celebrate teachers. So there's a tradition in our tradition where we respect teachers for centuries. So that tradition has been recognized. So that Guru Purnima, how do we recognize the Guru? How do we do the Guru Dakshina? Guru Dakshina means, coming back and working with your professors on research. And how we're working with, and Guruji and Professor Guru Kalyanaram very clearly said, how do we give back? How do we donate to our alma mater? So that is important. So with that, I'm going to go into a few things. What did I find? When I came from India, I had an electrical engineering degree, and then I also had an MBA. But when I came to the PhD program, what did I learn? What did I love the most? The best thing was, of course, one of the things was I went to the first day PhD seminar in philosophy. And actually, I could hold my own against everybody because I had attended not even taken classes. I had just attended a few philosophy seminars in Punjab University that prepared me well for the PhD program. What is the point I'm making? Our professors are dealing with the best texts. I could quote Immanuel Kant, and I could talk about Karl Popper in the first day of the PhD program. That was endeared a lot of my professors to me. I said, hey, this guy is no sense. And I owe it entirely to my pedagogy at PU. So our syllabus is all good. We teach very good things. But what was my challenge? How do I write well? How do I speak well? The communication skills was a confidence that I needed, and I picked it up in 6 months. The other thing is we are taught very heavy-duty mathematics. Very good. We can write the best equations, but can we demystify it? And that's something we started doing in marketing. Take a black box approach. Hey, what does it mean? What does it communicate? Can you communicate in a manner that is succinct? Communicate in a manner that a manager can read, a policymaker can read. So what? How does it impact life? Can you communicate that way? I think if we need to start emphasizing that, and it's there in some institutions, it may not be there in all the institutions. I wish that is diffused across institutions. The focus on effective communication. Effective communication doesn't mean quoting Shakespeare. It just means making a point. And we have wonderful communicators. Our politicians, our prime minister is a wonderful communicator. We need role models like that we should aspire, and we should become good communicators, effective communications, not silver tongue orators. I'm not saying that, but can we make a point? And that is important. So communication skills should be emphasized, analytical skills, critical thinking skills. Of course, we have a wonderful system of memorization, but the analytics, hey, what does it mean? So what? Critical thinking, because only if you can do critical thinking, which is kind of thinking then we can start going outside the box. So the outside the box is the next thing. So if you can communicate well, if you can think creatively, then the next linkage would be learning to think outside the box. And that will lead to creating an ecosystem For example, if you talk of the Silicon Valley, which could become a country by itself just based on GDP, the fourth largest GDP or something, they give some numbers. But just the Silicon Valley generates so much wealth. And all of that wealth is in the form of market capitalization. And they would say a lot of it is because we have the linkage with Stanford. So Stanford becomes a fulcrum for innovation. Now, how have we created? And so I'm very, very fortunate. I work with a very successful Silicon Valley entrepreneur, Professor Jack Gill, and he is an alumnus of my institution, and he gives us course content. It is fascinating to see the kind of applied research that happens. Hey, these guys working, and I live in Houston, which is one of the best medical centers. So these guys are working in the cutting edge of technology. And so there is a linkage. There is a Rice University linkage. There is a course linkage, there's a professor linkage, there's an entrepreneur linkage. And all of these brings together, and the students then get ideas, how do I commercialize my product? That kind of linkages needs to be encouraged more. I've seen some great institutions like IIM Bangalore does wonderful stuff there. I think some of the other IIMs, IIT Madras does some thing, but I think this has to become more diffused down the line. It has to become more widespread. And again, we need professors like Professor Sharma to champion these kind of initiatives. So innovation doesn't mean just it has to happen in that IITs. Innovation can happen in Kurukshetra, because we never know where the bright sparks are. So that is there. Then community engagement. So remember, most of our institutions, I went to school for very inexpensive prices, and all of it was subsidized by the taxpayer. How do we give back to the taxpayer? So can our students do projects that help industry, that help communities, that help policy making? And that is a resource. So where you can learn as you work, community engagement. And I'm going to make a shameless pitch to Professor Sharma and Gulshan ji. This is a separate topic by itself. At some point, I would like to engage with you all to see how we can bring community engagement in a greater way in the Indian higher education system, because we have some original research on that topic. How do we make sure our research, our activities in the universities help communities? That's important. Social entrepreneurship and social engagement. All of these are very important, especially for a developing country context like India. Now, the other thing is people talk about textbooks, databases, and all that. I have a little contrarian take of it. In fact, in the US, the cost of student debt is staggering. And so people argue that could be the next debt crisis compared to the housing price crisis. Students are taking out huge loans. So I've become a conscientious professor in my own classroom, but so are some of my colleagues. Try to use as much open source resources. And this COVID was actually a very catalyst in that. I could not use any major statistic software for the simple reason students could not go to the labs. So what did I do? I made them learn tools like Excel or open source softwares. I'm increasingly a proponent of open source software like R. I saw Professor Sharma do a workshop on R. Those are becoming important. So you don't have to always think you need an SPSS or a SAS or a Stata or a MATLAB. You can even do a lot of things with R, but of course, R means you have to invest in learning. So you have to become Atmanirbhar in learning how to use R. Or open source. Open source is not easy. Open source is like you will be given the atta, you got to make the roti. Whereas, the real software, if you pay for the software, the roti is hand delivered, like a pizza, they will deliver it to your home. So can you make the effort to spend the time learning things, then you can do things at a fraction of the cost. We are very known for frugal innovation. Same thing with the databases. There's a lot of secondary data out there that can be used for research. So are our researchers getting trained in using that? Or are we always buying resource? It's very easy to buy stuff, but I think if you can start learning to use things from first principles, you become even better at it. So there's this trade-off, I recognize that, but I think open source is becoming an increasingly a leveling field between developing economies and developed economies. So that is one more thing. Okay. Then I think I addressed the issue of multiple pathways. For example, over here, I've heard, in the US, we have in the high schools, if you're a high achiever, you can take some college credits. So that system means you recognize people have potential. So they can finish ahead of the curve. And if they can finish ahead of the curve, let them leapfrog. So that pathways are probably needed. And I recognize the higher education, the new education policy is taking a step in those kind of directions. So we need that. Somebody is already having high Mensa scores, high IQ scores. Can they really go early? And when there's no point in making them waste so much time, can you give them a pathway? That is important. So that is there. And of course, alumni and engagement, I talked about it. One more thing I just want to talk, yeah, why would I say all of these things are important? Why do we need to build good institutions in India? The amount of foreign exchange that is being spent by, that flows out of the country for higher ed is getting to be pretty big. People are sending kids to Cornell and Harvard and all that. And the affluence in Indian economy, the luxury consumption is now in higher ed. It is not in what BMW car, that is important, but people recognize, hey, my Harvard degree is more valuable than a BMW. Let me go and get an undergrad from Harvard. Previously, we used to see only graduate programs having folks from India, but now I see a lot of undergraduate programs having folks from India. So the Western universities recognize that we are a big market, and that is important. We need to be a good market, but we also have to become producers. We have to become Atmanirbhar. So we need this new education policy to make us Atmanirbhar, so that people don't go to Harvard. They could go to Kurukshetra, they could go to Gurgaon, or they could go to Bangalore and pursue their degrees. And I think some of the new IIMs are all opening up 5-year undergrad programs. All that is a step in the right direction. So we can keep them here, and we can keep the revenue within India, or the money within India. So the outflows are captured by us as an Indian institution. Last but not the least, we have a lot of, when we talk about global excellence, is competing on the benchmarks that have been, set by the West. And that is important. Let's put it this way, the world we inherit is, the rules of the game are set by the Western institutions, and it takes a while before India can become a developed economy. But in the meanwhile, that doesn't mean we stop doing what we are supposed to do. Is there anything unique about India that makes us a nation? We have to start asking those questions. Is there any wisdom in our past that we can tap? Because if we do not read our history, we are going to doomed to repeat it. At the same time, if we don't take pride in our past, we will not be a nation. So is there anything unique that can we offer to the world? And again, I congratulate our Prime Minister, really took the initiative to put yoga on the world map. Now with the COVID, there's a lot of documentation about the efficacy of Ayurvedic medicines. But my own mother, a lot of difficulty, sent me some Ayurvedic medicines. She said, take this, maybe you'll be okay with COVID. I don't know, the evidence is not there, but there is a lot of studies that are showing that some of the approaches that Ayurveda takes can really help in improving quality of life and longevity. And so those things are important. India can contribute there in disseminating the knowledge and the thought and the practice of yoga, the practice of Ayurveda. But not only that, even when it comes to philosophical underpinnings, in India, we talk about 4 purusharthas, the goal of life. What do we do? What do we do as so much wealth gets generated? The West is great when it comes to Artha Shastra or Kama Shastra, the production and consumption function, they are wonderful. But do they have anything beyond that? That is where the Indian system doesn't just talk about Artha and Kama. We also talk about Dharma, the system of ethics, but we also talk about moksha, going beyond all of these. And that is where our systems are much more holistic. And we have that in the form of our traditional institutions. By the way, our traditional institutions like the mutts and the mandir, there is a lot of wisdom there. And we have to have an open eye. I'm not saying we need to become ethnocentric. We say we are jingoistic. Hey, my culture is the greatest, we can't learn from that. But I think let us also open our eyes. So maybe, there is some wisdom in Kurukshetra, where we can find something in the Bhagavad Gita. And I was glad that there was a seminar on Bhagavad Gita just before this. We need that. We need to engage deeply. We need to ask good questions. We need to get grounded in Indian philosophy. So people talk about Stephen Hawking or Einstein, but are they aware of Aryabhatta? Are they aware of Nagarjuna? When we talk of logic, we talk about Immanuel Kant, but are we aware of Gautama, Akshapada, Gautama Sutras? Are we aware of Navya Nyaya? Are we aware of Tarka Shastra's books like Nyaya Chintamani? We need such level of awareness. And we need to take pride. It is not my history. It is not your history. It is our history. It is not history of Kashmir or Kanyakumari. By the way, I connect to both these places. It is our history, and we need to have a narrative that brings us pride in our traditions. So with that, I conclude with the Rigvedic saying that basically it says, let noble thoughts come to me from every side. On this auspicious day of Sharanavratri, Navratra, you're taking the efforts to worship Durga and Saraswati and Lakshmi. I mean, because that will come with this manthan that is happening. And so when noble thoughts come from every side, that is important. But Mahatma Gandhi rightly observed, or rightly says, I want to have windows so that we get the air from everywhere, but I don't want to be blown away from my feet. So we have to be cognizant, whatever we get, let us have some chintan manthan before we embrace everything that is global. But having said that, let us have that spirit of openness and knowledge seeking. And that comes to us from our traditions. So with that, wonderful happy Navratri to all of you. My gratitude to Professor Sharma ji. He's the Jai Vigyan, and Professor Dr. Sharma ji, and who's the Jai Jawan, sir. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram.
I have got two requests to make to you. One is because you give me one suggestion. What is to be done for teachers' empowerment in India? In the new education policy, I'm very keen because teachers' empowerment. And secondly, I wish to show to the entire audience, you were just talking about the Stephen Covey and 7 Habits of the Great People. Kindly see this very carefully. This is 7 Habits of Highly Fulfilled People. And this is from Professor Satyendra Dhiman, our chamber's immediate past president, who is the head in the Woodbury University, Burbank, California. He's the one who comes every Sunday morning. It's a 7 Habits of Highly Fulfilled People. And secondly, our chamber, every year we come out with service industry manual, and that is complete research on service industry, what all is happening world over. So the thing is, give one suggestion. What should be done for teachers' empowerment?
So teachers, one of the things is what gets measured what gets measured gets worked on, something like that. I mean, I'm not getting the exact quote. So can we have the right metrics on which we can capture teachers' performance, and not in a way that we are trying to punish them, but can it be captured in an objective way so that we can engage with them, we can look into it, and the data can allow you to reward good professors, and we can benchmark them. But having said that, I've served as the president of my faculty senate at my university, and I'm also serving on the system senate as a vice president. So I have some experience, not exactly expertise in faculty governance. And one of the things is any process that is faculty led is inherently messy, noisy, but it is useful because faculty are Buddhajivis, and when Buddhajivis means we cannot be clones, so we will disagree, and there'll be some samvad, vitandavad. So we need that mechanism by which we can measure performance, and that can be measured objectively and showcase people who are doing good stuff. We need champions. So exemplars chahiye. For example, I told you, we need people like Sharma ji. One Sharma ji ko dikha ke, we need. He's a Dhoni in my opinion. So we want more Dhoni. We need to showcase good people like him. But that's because I have an underlying metric in my mind that thinks how a good professor should be like Professor Sharma. So can we come up with objective framework by which you can measure and get institutions to adopt that? And so AACSB, the Poets and Quants is a website that has business school professors. They are ranked, and this is objective. So students send rankings, and there are objective indicators. So I'm sure for every professor in every discipline, you can create some scorecards, and on which the data can be gathered objectively, and you can incentivize performance. But of course, problem is when you put everything to a scorecard, people worry only about the scorecard. So that is always an inherent challenge, but steps in those directions. Okay. So that is important.
The organization which you made a mention, that is Society of Indian Academics in America, something very interesting, which you told that a month back you have joined.
Yes.
I have got a suggestion. Professor Tejinder is very dynamic and he can take it ahead. And he being the founder president of Haryana Chamber, for the commerce and industry, this particular, the Haryana Commerce and Management Association, where he's trying to bring all the professors and visionaries and innovators together. Our chamber since 1994 is with cutting across all the countries, when we have got 30 million plus non-resident Indians, Indian diasporas. So world over in the different countries, can we work out a strategy that every Sunday evening we should have one program where our chamber and Haryana Commerce and Management Association together, we get 3 visionaries, 3 educators or 3 professors or 3, it doesn't make a difference what title is there, associate professor or assistant professor or dean, or doesn't make a difference at all. Any educationist, it may be in the policy framework, it may be in a subject specific or something. If we work out a strategy, that will be a great service to India. And that will go a long way. Every Sunday, if our chamber, Professor Tejinder, Haryana Commerce and Management Association, and your organization over there, and we are not talking only America, we are talking cutting across all the countries. Wherever we find any good person who can be a resource person and who can be a source person, and that we can request Professor Saab, the Emirates, MIT who had come, and GK and Professor Anu Vij also, because we have got so many stakeholders world over. Let's start building up a kind of a synergy, because once we will start this particular thing in a structured way, I'm organizing lots of webinars, lots of programs. It is on innovative water saving strategies. I've got on MSME. I've got on, and you'll be surprised to know, Swami Vivekanand from New York. Every Saturday.
Professor Sharma, actually, and Major Saab, actually, I should call him Major.
No.
There's a lot of Professor Sharmas, but you're the Major Saab. No, absolutely, sir. Actually, I would like to engage either through the institution or in my own individual capacity. We will work out the details. And at the end of the day, for me, I want to give back and maybe at some point even work, in India, because I really see this is a nation which is growing. It's on the cusp of growth.
Our chamber has very strongly recommended that let us get a pool of, to start with initially 50 or 100 good educators from the whole world. They should come to India. Their present salary should be protected. Some incentive also should be given to them. And at the same time, they bring their expertise, their experience, their networking, everything back to India. Let them come on a sabbatical. They come for 1 year, they come for 2 years, or whatever time they can come to India. And let's take Indian education system to next trajectory. Absolutely. And this morning, only I discussed with Professor Tejinder, because you brought the issue, that's why I'm sharing with you. When he goes for the morning walk, he gave a call to me, and thereafter he thought I will finish in 5 minutes. I took 25 minutes. And finally he told me, your webinar is going to be there. American professor would be waiting. I said, yes, I got to go for that. I was telling him this morning, do you know how much is the revenue leakage and how much money is going? There are 2 kinds of people going from India. One is the serious students, those are going abroad. Second is those are just interested to get the green card and they want to settle abroad. Okay. Now, econometric model, when you talk about how much money can be saved, because once you're opening the education policy now, once you're allowing 100 best institutions of the world to come over here today, and you're telling that and this corona, this pandemic, it has removed all the geographical boundaries. It has exposed the education system. It has, whatever was to come in India in next 10 years, it has come in 6 months. Let me tell you that. It was to come in different phases. It has been exposed, all the weaknesses, and everybody is struggling. Everybody is running. Everybody is trying their level best. How to come to the situation, how to come to the expected standards, what is to be done? Children are also struggling, teachers are also struggling. Good. This struggle has come like a tsunami. It's very good. And let's take it forward. Now, this is an offer. This is a suggestion, because our chamber is having a presence in about 152 countries. And we would be more than happy if somewhere we can work it out and we dedicate. Because what happens is, like we know, every Saturday evening, 5 o'clock is Vivekananda. Every Saturday evening, 6:30 is Ayurveda. Every Sunday morning, 9:30 is Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So people know, it is registered in their mind. Every evening at 3 o'clock is ASEAN. Every evening at 5 o'clock is MSME, micro, small and medium enterprise. Why not we should dedicate every Sunday, which will be morning somewhere, afternoon somewhere, taking the convenience of everybody. I'm ready to work at this age, at the age of 72, and taking on 5 webinars in a day, no problems. I'm ready. The thing is, I have dedicated my rest of the life only to education empowerment and nothing else, nothing else. So thereby, in education empowerment also, my first strategy is teachers empowerment, educators empowerment, because the time will come where the students will be knowing more than teachers. And that will be a very difficult situation, because they have time. Teachers have got family commitment, relative commitment, other commitments, all that. But the guy who is on to the internet out of 24 hours, 16 hours is going to certainly, if I'm 18 hours all the time talking about education, I'm bound to learn something of education.
Actually, that's a very interesting point, because previously, especially in the business school, the case method is very, very popular. Started from Harvard Business School and, of course, other Harvard Law School, actually, technically speak. And then IIM Ahmedabad was a pioneer in India. And so IIM's the biggest thing was case study, because case study was a little very critical thinking, analytical thinking, communication skills. In the past, what will happen is the case studies will come with the case notes, but the case notes will be given to the instructor. So there is a lock, but the key is with the instructor. But today, the problem is this: thanks to internet, the keys all over the bin. You have not just one key or 15 keys. So there is even, running. How do you teach a case study? Because before you, the solution is there. It is like the movie is produced in Hollywood. Before it releases in China. So how do you stay ahead of the student? And so that is where, you need to be thinking, you have to teach, as we say, the old dogs, new tricks. New tricks to make sure we are respected by our students.
The sentence which you gave, can we get right metrics to benchmark our teachers? Oh, that was the climax which you have given to me. And what Professor Anu gave to me, that is which I have taken, the innovation and entrepreneurship. Innovation and entrepreneurship. What I am telling is, let's be very realistic. There are no jobs in future. Let's be very realistic. I'm waiting for that particular day when self-driven vehicles would be there. Do you know the situation? What would happen that day? The person who is 50-year-old, who has no other skill than driving, what will happen with that person? When the artificial intelligence and everything what we are talking about, when innovation we are talking about, when I'm just trying to understand, and the way it is coming, it's coming very quick. So
Absolutely.
let's conclude the session today, and you also have a couple of other commitments, and the discussions and deliberations and innovations and creativity have gone so far. It was such a wonderful, interesting deliberations with all of you, and my deepest gratitude and regards. And I request now Professor Tejinder to take on further proceedings. And Professor Vivek, we would like to take on further with you. I would like to put you across to Professor Satinder Dhiman also. And when you were talking about all the accreditations of America and all, he is the professor who comes to India. Your ISB Hyderabad, ISB Mohali and Bangalore and all that institutions. American accreditation, he's the person who comes from there. And there is a sustainable MBA. There is a MBA, there is a bachelor degree in sustainable management, development, and there is a MBA. That accreditation in Switzerland has been done by Professor Satinder Dhiman, and he's our immediate past president. We have got lots of confluence of best of the brains of the world, best of the brains of the world. The only thing is, somewhere this morning also he used that we have not to work like a fuel pipe, we have to work like a sparking plug now. That is the way India has to take a seat back. And with these words, I would request Professor Tejenderji, a few words from your side, and then we will conclude. If Professor Anu has got something to share, quickly we can wind up and we can take it up and we can further then close the session.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed listening to Professor Vij, and a lot of interesting things. And yes, I congratulate you all and the International Chamber for Service Industry for organizing this. I thank Professor Tejender and I thank you, Dr. Gulshan. It was a wonderful experience to be here. I think I have said enough. I would like to hear what Professor Tejender has to say now.
Professor Saab, all yours.
Well, you see, I was almost spellbound with the thought process which the speakers of today have initiated, not only in me, but also in the audience. And just look at the participation of the audience when you talked about some suggestions.
Let's clap for the audience also. They are wonderful audience. They are wonderful audience. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Very participative, wonderful audience. And indeed, sir, I think so. This is the takeoff of the day when the youth starts thinking, when the youth starts participating in this whole process and initiated at any point, if we all are realize that, yes, excellence is the only way out and we have to go and we have to really look about getting the practical skills. I think so. We really need to do a lot of introspection, really lot of introspection in the Indian system. And at least, thank God, we have started talking about all this. We have started thinking about all this. So, so thought is the initiator of any action. So when we have started thinking, I think so someday we will definitely move there inch by inch. And if we do not move, we'll be forced to move. So better we move in our terms. And I think so it is here where the inputs of very, very valuable inputs of say our friends and colleagues and peers who are in the other parts of the world, their experiences become really very valuable for all of us. Objective is the same. We all are playing our role in different places, and extremely thankful to you on my personal request to both of you and Professor Gurumurthy ji also that you made it to the webinar, and out of your so many prior commitments, you took time. I'm extremely thankful to you, sir, that you have both of you have really given your thoughts and ideas in this webinar. We look forward that this webinar is a starting point and not an ending point. So we look forward to working with you in the days to come for one bigger goal for the nation, that is making education relevant, making really the system wherein we inspire and ignite young minds so that they can really take the world to make it a better place. Thank you one and all. Thank you once again for this wonderful webinar. And thank you, Dr. Gulshan Sharma ji, for associating Haryana Commerce and Management Association to this international event, and extremely thankful to one and all for the success of this absolutely great event. Thank you all. You are mute, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Saab, and thank you very much for my distinguished panelists and I won't call them panelists, I will call them my family members, because that's much better. We are a family now. We all are together. And particularly my deepest gratitude and thanks to all the participants. You are wonderful people. मुझसे बहुत सारे लोग पूछते हैं कि आपकी 72 साल की इस एनर्जी में और 20 साल के एक बच्चे की झलक कैसी है. उसका एक ही रूप है, whatever you do with total dedication and passion. And when you enjoy what you're doing, you will never get tired. I'm a vegetarian, I'm a teetotaler, I'm a non-smoker. I sleep at 10 and I get up at 3:30. That's the secret of my life. And I always laugh and I listen to music. Enjoy music as much as you can. Your life should be musical. People, those are sad, because they don't enjoy music. In fact, music should be the integral part of education, every subject. Every subject. Whenever you are taking bath, you are in kitchen, you are eating food, everything, always, always listen to music. No sad music. No sad music. Happy music should be, which should make you happy. और मेरी एज में, मेरी स्टेज में मुझे एक ही बात कहनी है जो मुझे बहुत अच्छी लगती है. मणिकर्णिका मूवी का एक गाना है जो प्रसन्न जोशी जी ने लिखा है. देश से है प्यार तो हर पल ये कहना चाहिए, मैं रहूं या ना रहूं भारत ये रहना चाहिए. सिलसिला ये बाद मेरे यूं ही चलना चाहिए, मैं रहूं या ना रहूं भारत ये रहना चाहिए. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for joining today. You are wonderful people. God bless all of you, and look forward working with all of you. Look forward learning from all of you. Whatsoever best we can learn on this planet, universe, and share the knowledge, wisdom, and